And welcome back to Newsmax Now. I'm John Bachman. Dan Coats is out as the Director of National Intelligence, and some Democrats aren't too happy about it. Coats, in a letter to the president, resigned his position as the U.S.'s top intelligence position, saying, quote, "As we have previously discussed, I believe it's time for me to move on to the next chapter in my life." Coats will stick around for another 2 weeks, and he's set to be replaced by Congressman John Ratcliff of Texas, who Democrats say is just a Trump lackey. Here's the Republican congressman last week questioning former special counsel Robert Mueller about his Russia probe.
Respectfully, Director, you didn't follow the special counsel regulations. It clearly says, write a confidential report about decisions reached. Nowhere in here does it say, write a report about decisions that weren't reached. You wrote 180 pages. 180 pages about decisions that weren't reached, about potential crimes that weren't charged.
And that is why a lot of people had an issue with the Mueller report. Still with us, our political panel this evening, Jessie Jane Duff and Dr. Dina Grayson. All right, Dina, what do you think? Is he the right guy for the job?
Well, no, I don't think he's the right guy for the job, but I think it's important. We should be talking to intelligence professionals who do not think he's the right guy for the job. He doesn't have the right set of experiences, and the DNI role is not, the Director of National Intelligence role is not a political position. This is a position where you need someone that's willing to stand up to the president, who's willing to be able to stand up for the intelligence community and their independence. We Americans need that and deserve that. And I've spoken with multiple folks within the intelligence community. These are not liberals. They are invariably Republicans, and they have real concerns about this pick, and rightfully so.
Jessie Jane, you know, Ratcliff is a seasoned prosecutor before he was in Congress. Do you think he's qualified to hold this job?
Absolutely. He was a national security and a terrorism district chief with the Department of Justice. He sits on the Homeland Security and Intelligence committees. I mean, this is a very strong person to represent the intelligence community, the intelligence information, and to suggest that our intelligence community has not been corrupted after the fiasco that we saw with Brennan on CNN, clearly stating that he saw collusion with Russia when there was no evidence of that, when we know that our intelligence agency had perpetuated a fraudulent investigation based upon a fake dossier. I think this is refreshing. Of course, it'll be wonderful that he gets to go in front of the Senate, because in front of the House, we will have nothing but mudslinging under Jerry Nadler. Jerry has never been very pro anything considering national security. He just wants to undermine and impeach the president. So I know Democrats don't like this because he is somebody that obviously has his cards and ducks in line.
Well, once upon a time, there was more decorum in the U.S. Senate than we see today. I would expect, Dina, that there is going to be some mudslinging going on. There's going to be a lot dug up about John Ratcliffe's past, if there's anything to be dug up. Do you think Democrats should really dig their heels in on this nomination?
I think it's very likely they will. But again, I think this is based upon objective guidance from intelligence professionals. And those are the opinions that should matter the most. And he's had 5 months sitting on the Intelligence Committee. This is not a seasoned veteran. The second person who wasn't an intelligence veteran to be in this position. And the former one is the outgoing DNI coach, who had, many years of experience sitting on Homeland Security, Armed Services, and in the intelligence committees in the Senate. So I think this is a poor choice. He's not a seasoned choice. He's clearly a hyper-partisan pick. And I think we can do a lot better, and I think Americans deserve better.
Well, according to CNN, Ratcliffe had been under consideration for a role in the Trump administration, but for some time in the White House, he was thought to be too nice. He apparently changed some minds, Jessie, last week with his aggressive line of questioning for Robert Mueller.
Well, being a national security and anti-terrorism district chief in the Department of Justice, which has been mentioned, is a definite qualifying factor. I mean, I've worked in the intelligence community since while on active duty and since coming off, and I disagree completely that he's unqualified, because I've seen people that have definitely perpetuated against the intelligence interests of the United States that are within our own intelligence community. So it's very interesting to see how subjective or objective the Democrats will be about this. And anything that supports the president, I'm quite confident they will be against, because it's very seldom that they will get in step with this president. Their goal is to impeach him and undermine him.
Yeah, and Dina, why shouldn't the president have somebody he feels comfortable with and somebody he trusts by his side? We've highlighted on this program many times the many public disagreements that Coates and President Trump have had. That's not good for the country.
Again, that is within his purview, and he should also have somebody that's not at odds with the intelligence community. And so I find it interesting that somehow there's this disconnect that if you're close to Trump, you can't be representing the intelligence community. That is a very disturbing, proposition. I think that you should be able to have both. Former presidents have had both. Why can't Mr. Trump have somebody who both stands up for the independence of the intelligence community and gets along with Mr. Trump? The reality is you can't, because Mr. Trump has real issues with the intelligence community having its independence and doing their job in a thorough and appropriate manner.
Well, there is, there's no
May I respond?
Yes, of course, Jessie.
I just don't think that that's even accurate. Nobody suggested that he is going to have to choose one or the other. There's never been any demonstration in his history that he hasn't supported intelligence, particularly when he was in the Department of Justice itself. And Mr. Trump has every reason to be distrusting of the intelligence community. When John Brennan was part of that dossier, when Comey was part of that dossier, and now the investigations that we're seeing under Barr are going to possibly and potentially reveal that this was perpetuated by the intelligence community. Keep in mind, our intelligence has not always been accurate. Democrats have gone after George Bush flagrantly for what happened in Iraq. And where was the intelligence community on that? They're the ones that provided the intelligence for him. So we have to make decisions here that you can't always say that the president is wrong to want an ally, but at the same time, I don't see any evidence. I think it's a false charge to suggest that he cannot represent the intelligence community also fairly. That is just not false. That is just inaccurate.
We'll get more insight on this tomorrow from the former Director of Central Intelligence, James Woolsey. He'll be joining us to talk about this.